You ever seen a man lose everything? Not because the market was cruel, but because he couldn't master himself? I have. He sat 3 chairs down from me in a smoky brokerage room back in 1929. His name was Ellis. Hands trembling on the ticker tape, eyes burning with that fever every trader knows, the fever of being right. The market turned, and his fortune with it. I watched him whisper, "It'll come back," as if the market could hear him. It didn't. By the end of the week, Ellis was gone, account wiped, spirit broken. That was the day I learned. The market doesn't destroy men. Their minds do. Most traders lose not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack control. They can't cut losses, can't let winners run, can't sit still when silence is the best trade. They confuse activity with progress, and the market punishes that confusion every single time. When I first started, I thought success came from cleverness, finding the secret pattern, the perfect system. But after years of watching men rise and vanish, I realized the truth. It's not the market you have to outsmart. It's yourself. You see, every trade is a mirror. It shows you your fear, your greed, your pride. And if you can't face that reflection with discipline, you'll lose, no matter how good your strategy looks on paper. I remember one day I made $10,000 before lunch, back when 10,000 was enough to buy a house. And by sunset, I'd given it all back. Not because I was wrong about the market, but because I was drunk on success. I thought I'd cracked the code. That's the most dangerous feeling a trader can have. When you win early, luck whispers that you're brilliant. It tells you, you've got it figured out. But luck is the cruelest teacher. It lets you believe you're skilled, until it takes everything away. And when it does, you finally understand. Trading isn't about being right. It's about staying alive. So if you're here to learn how to beat the market, stop. You'll never beat it. The goal is to survive it, to endure long enough for the big move to find you. Because the truth is this: the market doesn't reward the smartest man in the room. It rewards the man who can take a loss without losing his mind. The man who can wait while others panic. The man who can sit tight when he's right, and cut quick when he's wrong. That's the art of speculation. And that's what separates the survivors from the 90% who don't make it past their first few years. This is not a story about charts or indicators. It's a story about psychology, about what happens when money meets human emotion. So sit tight, because I'm about to tell you how traders destroy themselves, and how a few rare ones rise above it. I've seen traders who study for years, charts, news, fundamentals, yet still fail because they never study themselves. They treat trading like a math problem, when in truth, it's a mirror maze. You can't calculate your way out of fear. You can't spreadsheet your way past greed. Those are beasts you must learn to tame, not with intellect, but with self-awareness. I remember the first time I made a real fortune. It was in cotton. Everyone said the price was going higher. Everyone. But something about the tone of the tape told me otherwise. I sold short. The price dropped like a stone. And for a moment, I felt like a genius. Then the next morning, I woke up and saw cotton had bounced. Panic gripped me. I bought to cover too early, just before it plunged again. Had I stayed calm, I would have doubled my profit. But I couldn't. My nerves overruled my judgment. That's the paradox of trading. It punishes emotion, yet it feeds on it. Every uptick whispers greed. Every downtick screams fear. And most traders dance to that music until it leads them off a cliff. The best traders don't predict. They react. They don't fight the tape, they listen to it. They respect it, the way a sailor respects the sea. You don't argue with a wave. You ride it, or you drown. So, the next time you're staring at your screen, remember this. The market isn't your opponent. It's your teacher. And every loss, every painful drawdown, is a lesson disguised as punishment. When I blew up my second fortune, yes, second, I was devastated. But years later, I realized that loss taught me more about patience than 1,000 winning trades ever could. It taught me humility. It taught me that you can't command the market, only obey it. The market doesn't owe you anything. It doesn't care about your dreams, your bills, your confidence, or your ego. And the moment you start believing it does, it'll take everything from you. There's a reason most traders quit. They think they lost to the market, when in truth, they lost to themselves. They can't handle uncertainty, can't embrace boredom, can't accept being wrong. But the greats, the ones who survive decade after decade, they do one thing differently. They master the waiting. You see, in trading, money is made in the sitting, not in the trading. And that patience, that stillness, it's where true power lies. If this resonates with you so far, take a second and like this video. It helps us reach more traders who need to hear this truth. And subscribe if you want more stories like this, where psychology meets the market. Because we're only just getting started. The hardest lessons, the ones that separate the dreamers from the disciplined, are still ahead. There's something no one tells you when you start trading. The market doesn't test your strategy first. It tests your breaking point. Every trader has one. That moment when the chart moves against you, your heart rate spikes, and your hands hover over the mouse like it's a detonator. That's the instant when your future as a trader is decided. Not by the price, but by your reaction. I remember my breaking point. It was the day I ignored my own rule, the one I swore I'd never break. Never average a losing position. But greed whispered in my ear, just this once. The market dipped, and I bought more. It dipped again, I bought again. By the time I realized what I'd done, I was sitting on a mountain of losses, too ashamed to admit it. I didn't blow up because I was wrong. I blew up because I couldn't accept being wrong. That's the trap most traders fall into. Not the loss itself, but the denial that follows. They think holding will save them. But holding isn't courage, it's pride in disguise. I learned that humility is a trader's greatest asset. It's what lets you say, I was wrong, and close the trade before it becomes a disaster. It's what keeps you in the game long enough to win the next battle. If you want to last in this business, learn to love small losses. Because small losses are tuition, and the market is a ruthless schoolmaster. When I finally accepted that rule, cut losses fast, let profits run, everything changed. Not overnight, but slowly, quietly. The market stopped being a battlefield and became a mirror. And I realized, the best traders don't conquer fear, they coexist with it. Fear never disappears. It just becomes quieter when you respect it. You can always tell a novice trader by how loudly he talks about his wins. Real professionals speak softly. They know the market can humble anyone at any moment. I've seen men go from millionaires to beggars in a single season. Not because they didn't understand stocks, but because they didn't understand themselves. So ask yourself, when the market moves against you, do you freeze or do you flow? Do you fight to prove you're right, or do you adapt to survive? Because in the end, trading isn't about prediction. It's about emotional endurance. The ones who make it, they aren't the smartest. They're the calmest. They breathe when others panic. They wait when others rush. They sell when others pray. That's not luck. That's discipline carved out of pain. You ever notice how the market moves fastest right after you exit a trade? That's not the market mocking you. That's you realizing how emotional your decisions really are. The market didn't change. You did. Patience is the most profitable emotion in trading, and also the hardest one to practice. Most traders lose money not because they don't know what to do, but because they can't stand doing nothing. They crave action. They chase the rush. They feel like if they're not in a trade, they're missing out on money flying past them. But here's the truth, the money isn't flying past. It's waiting. Waiting for the discipline to come collect it, while the impatient burn themselves out. When I was young, I used to jump in and out of the market 20 times a day. I called it tape reading. In truth, I was just chasing noise, mistaking motion for opportunity. The market rewarded me with lessons I'll never forget. One afternoon, I was long on a stock that looked strong, volume rising, momentum steady. Then, without warning, it reversed. Instead of cutting it, I told myself, it'll bounce back. It didn't. It kept falling, and so did I, down into the pit of self-deception every trader knows too well. That night I didn't sleep. Not because of the loss, but because of the realization. I hadn't lost to the market. I'd lost to my own impatience. From that day on, I trained myself to wait. To watch the market as a hunter watches his prey, motionless, silent, ready. Because the best trades often come to those who can wait until everyone else is tired of waiting. That's the paradox of trading success. It rewards boredom. The moment you start to feel excitement, you're probably about to make a mistake. True trading mastery feels like still water. Calm, deliberate, detached. You want to know what separates professionals from gamblers? Professionals know exactly why they're entering a trade, and they know exactly when they'll leave. Gamblers, on the other hand, only know how they feel. And feelings are the quickest path to financial ruin. Every time you trade based on emotion, you donate money to someone who isn't. That's how markets stay balanced. The patient collect from the restless. So when you feel that urge to trade for the sake of trading, pause. Ask yourself, am I following my plan or my pulse? Because one builds a future, and the other builds regret. Most traders never realize that the market's most dangerous weapon isn't volatility, it's hope. Hope is what keeps a losing position alive long after it should have been buried. It whispers, just one more rally, it'll turn around. But the market isn't a place for hope. It's a place for probabilities. I once knew a trader named Martin. Clever, confident, always smiling. He used to say, I don't need stop losses. I am the stop loss. The market broke that confidence in one brutal week. He doubled down on a losing short, certain it would fall again. Instead, the stock rallied every single day until his broker called. When I saw him next, he wasn't smiling anymore. He said something I never forgot. I didn't lose to the market, Jesse. I lost to my own stubbornness. That's the disease every trader catches at some point, the illusion of control. We think we can bend the market to our will. But the market isn't a machine you operate, it's an ocean you survive. Cutting losses fast isn't cowardice, it's insurance against self-destruction. If you can't take a small loss today, you'll eventually take a catastrophic one tomorrow. I made and lost millions before I finally understood that the size of your losses isn't the problem. It's your refusal to take them. Trading is the only business where being wrong is inevitable, and being able to admit it is profitable. Every time you hit sell to protect your capital, you're buying peace of mind. That's what the amateurs never get. They fight for pride while professionals fight for survival. You see, discipline isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. Doing the right thing especially when it feels wrong. Because the market has a cruel sense of irony. The right decision often feels uncomfortable, while the wrong one feels exciting. That's why true traders learn to fall in love with discomfort. They understand that uncertainty is the soil where profits grow. So the next time you hesitate to take a loss, remember, the money you save today is the ammunition you'll need tomorrow. And survival is the only way to reach the next opportunity. If this message hits home, take a second and subscribe. Not for me, but for yourself. Because staying grounded in this game requires constant reminders. And this channel is built for traders who want to master their mind as much as their craft. Let's keep going deeper. Because there's one more emotion, the most seductive of them all, that destroys even the veterans: revenge trading. Revenge trading. That's the demon that turns traders into gamblers overnight. It begins with one loss, a single bad trade that bruises the ego. You tell yourself, I'll win it back. But that thought isn't recovery, it's infection. You start seeing setups that aren't there, rushing into trades without reason, forcing the market to pay back what it owes you. But here's the cruel part. The market doesn't owe you anything. It doesn't even know you exist. I learned that lesson the hard way. One morning, after a string of losses, I decided to get even. The trade looked weak, but my pride wanted revenge. Within hours, I was staring at another loss, larger than the last. It felt personal. So I did it again. And again. By the end of the week, I wasn't trading the market anymore. I was trading my frustration. And frustration is a terrible trader. That spiral ends the same way for everyone: exhaustion, regret, and emptiness. Because revenge trades are never about money. They're about identity. You're not trying to recover profits, you're trying to recover yourself. That's when I realized trading isn't about winning. It's about staying centered. If your emotions can be manipulated by a chart, then you're not trading, you're being traded. The greatest weapon you'll ever develop as a trader is emotional neutrality. The ability to look at a screen, whether up or down, and feel nothing but clarity. That doesn't come easy. You earn it through heartbreak, losses, and endless introspection. You build it like muscle, repetition after repetition of letting go. There was a time when I'd stare at the ticker and feel my pulse match every tick. Now I barely flinch. Not because I don't care, but because I've accepted what most traders never do. The market doesn't reward emotion. It rewards discipline under emotion. That's the secret. Not controlling the market, but controlling your reaction to it. When you finally stop needing the market to prove you right, that's when you start trading with true power. And ironically, that's when the market starts rewarding you. Because the market isn't chaos, it's balance. When you act with greed, it humbles you. When you act with patience, it rewards you. It's not random, it's just fair. Remember this, the goal is not to conquer the market, it's to conquer yourself within the market. Every chart is just a reflection of mass psychology. Fear, hope, pride, panic, painted in price form. Once you understand that, you stop fighting the chart and start reading the human emotions behind it. When you really think about it, trading is a mirror of human emotion at scale. Every candle on a chart is someone's fear, someone's greed, someone's desperation. The charts don't lie, they just reflect the collective psychology of millions trying to outguess each other. That's why the best traders study people, not prices. Because prices are just the footprints of emotion. Back in my early days, before I made my first million, I spent hours just watching the ticker. Not trading, watching. I learned how markets breathe, how they speed up when panic hits and slow down when confidence fades. That's how you start to understand rhythm. And rhythm is everything in speculation. The average trader rushes in trying to catch the next big move. But the professional waits for confirmation, for the story behind the price to reveal itself. Because every move has a story. The question is, do you have the patience to listen to it before reacting? You see, patience isn't passive. It's the most active discipline in trading. It's choosing not to move until the market invites you in. I remember once watching a stock for 6 weeks without touching it. Every day it teased me, fake breakouts, sudden dips, emotional traps. But I stayed still. Then one day it broke through cleanly, with strength that couldn't be faked. I entered, rode the move, tripled my position in weeks. That trade didn't come from skill. It came from silence, from waiting. That's why I say, good trading feels boring. Bad trading feels exciting. If your heart's racing, your plan's failing. The market rewards those who treat it like a business, not a casino. It's not about chasing adrenaline. It's about executing a plan so well that excitement becomes irrelevant. The amateurs want dopamine. The professionals want data. And here's the paradox. The more detached you become emotionally, the more profits start to feel inevitable. Not because you can predict the market, but because you've finally learned to stop fighting yourself. You see, every trader eventually faces a choice. Keep chasing highs and lows, or master the inner equilibrium that outlasts both. And that choice defines everything. Because trading isn't just about money. It's about self-mastery. It's about who you become while surviving the uncertainty. And once you realize that, you stop measuring success by profit alone, and start measuring it by peace of mind. You know, people often ask me, Jesse, what's the hardest part about trading? And I always tell them, it's not the losses, not the risk, not even the waiting. It's the mirror. It's looking at yourself every day and realizing the market knows you better than you know you. The market has a way of exposing your weaknesses. It shows you your impatience, your ego, your fear, and it does it with brutal honesty. There's no hiding behind luck forever. Sooner or later, the truth catches up. And that's why trading, for me, became something more than business. It became spiritual warfare. A battle between the disciplined man I wanted to be and the emotional man I was. When I look back, I don't remember the dollar amounts. I remember the emotions. The silence of a winning trade. The noise of a losing streak. The nights I stared at the ceiling asking, do I really have what it takes? You see, the market will test everything, your intelligence, your willpower, your patience. But the real test is whether you can stay calm when everything inside you wants to panic. If you can do that, if you can breathe when your screen bleeds red, then you've already won the game most people never finish. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about making millions. It's about becoming the kind of person who could. The kind of person who doesn't need the market to validate them. The kind of person who understands that wealth means nothing if you can't master your own mind. That's the ultimate truth of speculation. It's not about prediction, it's about presence. Not about control, but acceptance. If you take one thing from this entire story, let it be this. You don't need to outsmart the market, you need to outlast yourself. That's how legends are made. So if you're ready to keep learning, not just charts and patterns, but the deep psychology that drives every successful trader, hit that like button and subscribe. Because what we explore here isn't surface level advice. It's the stuff that separates those who gamble from those who grow. Each video here is another mirror, another story to help you see yourself more clearly through the eyes of the market. Remember, every tick, every candle, every trade is an invitation, not to get rich fast, but to understand yourself better. And once you master that, the profits will follow like shadows at sunset. Stay disciplined, stay patient, and never stop learning. Because in trading, just like in life, the biggest win is surviving long enough to evolve. This is Jesse Livermore, signing off.